Hi there, it's Nicole here today with a picture book Christmas die cut card. These are all brand new dies plus a stamped greeting from Simon Says Stamp, their holiday 2017 release. This release is amazing. I absolutely love everything in it. As shown by, I think I used, oh my goodness, 5 of the new dies plus six new dies and a greeting. So lots of the new product. Now I went ahead and die cut all of the elements here just to save time. Lots and lots of die cutting, lots of piecing things together. I know that's the majority of the work. The rest of it is all the fun part of putting it together. I've had some questions about the picture book dies in the past because this is just an addition on this collection from Simon Says Stamp. And there are some small elements to these. But I find that if you kind of die cut everything and lay it all out in little groups, kind of like I did here, it's really easy. If you have some sort of a picker up tool, a quick stick tool, or a jewel picker or something like that, it makes putting the little elements in there so much easier. But these are really simple to put together. They're very cute and very fun. Now I was just inking up a border here with some Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink. I did die cut these from some regular Nina Smooth White cardstock, and I really like the Distress Oxides when I'm using regular cardstock as opposed to Distress inks. I die cut this with the pine needle border. And it is a beautiful border that creates this awesome pine needle effect, which is what I'm going to put along the edge and have all of my little picture book guys kind of sitting up behind it with this nice greenery along the bottom. I think it would even be fun to tuck little holly and berries or pine cones or something in there if you wanted to. I had quite a lot going on, so I chose not to embellish it any further than adding the Lucky Clover ink to it. For my background, I'm very lightly adding Salty Ocean Distress Oxide ink to this piece of cardstock. And I'm going to work it into my cardstock until I have a nice blend. I do not want to have it terribly dark, and I want it to be pretty ombre where it goes dark to light up at top. So I guess going from very, very light to a little bit darker, but definitely not the full intensity. In fact, I barely inked up my tool at all. I pounced a lot of the ink off on my craft mat prior to inking up my cardstock. I want to make sure and keep my craft mat really clean, so I'm just taking a damp paper towel and cleaning that up. Now off camera, I spritzed my background with water from a distress sprayer. I didn't want to spritz it on any of the cardstock pieces laying here. And I'm going to blot this dry with a paper towel. This is going to add just a tiny bit of distressing to the background, pretty light. I did not want to go over the top. It just helps give some interest in some lighter, nice areas. Next, I am going to grab a sentiment from the Fa La La stamp set, and there's also coordinating dies for this, which I'm going to use the die cut greeting as well. There's an outline that comes with that if you want to use the outline, but I'm going to use my die to figure out where to put one of the stamped sentiments from the Fa La La stamp set, and I'm going to use Sending Merry Christmas Wishes, and this is going to serve as a guide so I know where that needs to go. I'm going to go ahead and pick this up with my Misty. I did use the Misty to stamp this to make it a little bit easier, especially I have not used this stamp before. Sometimes they don't stamp really well with a colorful dye ink, and so I stamped this twice, one on top of another, using the Simon Says Stamp Lucky Green ink. Once probably would have been enough, but I went ahead and did twice. There were a couple areas that were a little faint. That is the only stamping that's going to go, or that I'm going to do for this card. I really have been addicted to creating all die cut cards. I think they're really fun. There are so many great dies out there now. There's lots of great ways to create completely die cut cards. I did not have a color of cardstock that was perfect for coloring in a face. To combat this, I decided to just die cut my face from smooth white cardstock and then color it in with Copic markers, just like I would a stamped image. And I'm glad I did because I really had not one thing that would work. um, so um, I think we could use some flesh colored cardstock, or maybe there is some and I just need to find it. I don't know. However, I think it's great to find ways to get around this, and using your markers is a great way to do this. I used a pencil to kind of serve to draw a little very faint light line on my background, so I know where that border is going to be, so I know where to adhere my characters, my picture book images, because you have to piece them together. I have lightly inked some of the edges of these pieces with some black soot distress oxide ink mostly. I think that's, I'm trying to think if there's any other colors I used. I believe I only used the black soot. And then I'm running them through the Xyron sticker maker. I have found that this is my favorite way to piece these together, my favorite adhesive, as far as the bigger pieces go. Pretty forgiving. It's not going to rip or tear paper. It makes the whole back sticky. It's just a really great way to put together these picture book images. I started with Santa over here. Another great thing, you can kind of roll up the adhesive with your finger, and that's great as well. If there's any adhesive that's kind of transferred to the front, I just run my finger over it and pick it up and get rid of it. Now the eyes for my Santa disappeared. I could have sworn I die cut them, but because I don't ever find them and both of them are missing, I'm thinking I forgot to die cut them when I die cut all the other pieces. So I'll come back to the Santa here in a little bit. And instead, I'm going to work on adhering the rest of the images. Now, I couldn't figure out if I wanted to do the deer or Frosty next, and I decided to go with Frosty. In fact, I really feel like these images, the shape of them, just the way they are, they really remind me of the cartoon movies that are on every year at this time, at Christmas time. And I kind of think that's really fun. It's a very nostalgic. That's how it makes me feel. It makes me feel nostalgic for my childhood. And I kind of love that about this. I also think these would be adorable to make your own tags. In fact, I really hope to do some gift tags with all of these soon. So I'm going to build Frosty here with his top hat. Plus, you can use a scarf or not. It is a separate die, so it's not going to piece together. Santa is all one piece. The snowman is the snowman with the top hat, and then the scarf is a separate image. So if you want to put that scarf around maybe one of the critter picture book dies next, I think that would be fantastic. Lots of ways to kind of mix and match. They're starting to have so many of these picture book dies now that I think it would be fun to mix and match them to see what we can come up with. For any of the small areas, I tend to like to attach those with glossy accents. Here is a good example of the quick stick tool in action, picking up the little buttons, the eyes, the nose, and putting them in place. So much easier than trying to pick them up with your fingernails. Now I'm adding highlights to the eyes and the nose on the snowman, and you can start to see the images really start to come alive. Instead of black soot for the cream pieces here for the Rudolph, I am going to go ahead and use Gathered Twigs Distress ink to add a little bit of color. And then I'm going to build this up. Now I want his little face to kind of be hanging over the edge of the scarf. Again, the reindeer comes with 3 dies. It's going to come with the antlers, so you can choose to use the deer with or without the antlers, the deer itself, and then the scarf. I'm going to put glossy accents in the nose area and the eyes again. Put the little inside ear pieces, a nice little contrast, as well as the belly piece. I did color in just a little bit with R00 the insides of the ears for a two-tone effect. Adding some little highlights to the eyes and the nose on the deer as well. And then once they're pieced together, I'm going to go ahead and pop that border along the bottom edge of the card. For my large die cut greeting, I placed some gold foil cardstock on fun foam using stick it adhesive, and then I die cut it, and that's going to create a dimensional sticker. I have done this a lot in past videos. It's my favorite thing to do with scripty style greetings. I love the dimension. It's going to slightly overhang those little loops and flourishes at the end of the word, so I'm going to trim those off. Then I have some adorable little holly trim, so some little greenery and red berries die cut from that holly trim die that I'm going to tuck onto Frosty's hat. And I will place another one down there below the stamped greeting. I really think that kind of finishes it off, adds a cute pop of color. And if you wanted to, like I was mentioning earlier, I think this would be really cute tucked amongst the pine needles if you wanted to do something like that. A fine tip applicator on glossy accents allows you to add some really pretty small little dabs of glue, which is fantastic. So I've got my little eyes now for Santa, which I'm going to just grab those real quick. And this is really going to help because he was looking a little vacant-eyed there. And once that glue is dry, I can take my white pen and add some highlights to his eyes as well. And I tried to do it too soon, and I think there was a little bit of glue there. Over Rudolph and Frosty's noses, plus the holly berries, I'm going to add some glossy accents to make these raised accents. And I can add my highlights to the eyes now. And I think that finishes them off beautifully. I think it would be cute to put some little dangling hanging lights from that reindeer's antlers. I'm going to have to see what I've got in my collection because that's another fun idea and a fun way to dress up that reindeer, I think. I think it would also be cute to do a whole border of all of the reindeer. If you wanted to, on maybe a scrapbook page or something. I'm adding some highlights to the images with a white opaque pen. Adds interest to the design, gives it some more dimension. It's one of my favorite things to do to die cut images or stamped images. We'll even do that to some of the holly leaves. Then I'm going to take this panel, attach it to a white top fold card base, and my picture book Christmas die cut card is all finished. Thanks for joining me today for this holiday card featuring Simon Says, dies, and stamps. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.